Hello there, folks. My name is Spoonks, and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was Nightmare Alley, which opened to $2.8 million this weekend, and that total stays the same worldwide as it hasn't released in any international markets as of yet. But this is still a rather disappointing opening weekend, and I sadly can't say that I'm surprised. They really didn't advertise this movie all that well, and buzz wasn't very strong. And the fact that it opened the same weekend as a very highly anticipated movie definitely dented this movie's box office. The real kicker to this as well is that the movie costed $60 million to make, and it's definitely going to need a lot, and I mean a lot, to even get to that total as a whole. So it's looking like this is another disappointment from 20th Century Fox this year, which is really sad because I've heard stupendous things about this movie. Really phenomenal, best of the year type of things. But they decided to not market it and advertise it and chose someone to release date. So this is what you get, unfortunately. Hopefully, it receives a cult following whenever it's released in like video on demand or streaming, and that helps it get the recognition it deserves. But right now, it's looking like this movie is not going to bring it at the box office. Number 4 was Ghostbusters Afterlife, making $3.4 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $117 million and a worldwide total of $174 million. So surprisingly enough, this film held a lot better than I expected. I thought, given the competition, it would significantly drop or plummet this weekend, but no, it was still able to maintain its core audience. It held very strong, and it still managed to be in the top 5. It's probably going to leave very soon, probably next week, due to the massive amount of releases coming out this holidays weekend, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, this movie's still crushing it at the box office. It has surpassed Jungle Cruise domestically and is just sitting 4 million behind Free Guy's domestic total, which, even though its numbers are rather low as of now, I think it still has a chance at surpassing that movie, given how it was able to maintain its core audience and hold very strongly for the past several weeks. Yeah, once again, Ghostbusters continues to crush it at the box office. What more do I need to say other than great job? It's doing very well still. Number 3 was West Side Story, making $3.6 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $18 million and a worldwide total of $28 million. So the good news is that it has surpassed Dear Evan Hansen's domestic total, which honestly wasn't all that hard to do, but still, hooray. And where it's at right now is just $10 million away from In the Heights' entire domestic total, which is a pretty good indicator of how well this movie might do, but this still doesn't change the fact that this is a pretty steep drop. I thought this would be one of those movies that would be least affected by this week's release, given how it's a much different movie and geared towards a different audience. So I thought, maybe it could pull off what Ghostbusters did and maintain its core audience a bit, but that was not the case. Apparently, word of mouth was not doing it for this movie, which is, again, very surprising because the daily numbers for this movie were pretty impressive. It was actually doing a lot better than many of the releases out that week alone. So that was something I thought would also benefit this movie. Hopefully, this is one of those cases where the second weekend drop is steep, but afterwards it's able to pick up the pace once again, like Ghostbusters and even Venom Let There Be Carnage, where they had steep drop offs, but afterwards that really doesn't mean anything because they were still able to be massive hits. I don't think it's gonna, you know, make its budget back, but if it at the very least could be a sleeper hit, like at least 70 million, that would be alone worth something. But we're just gonna have to play the waiting game on this one, it seems like, with the rest of the musicals. Hopefully it does better than what it's doing right now, but yeah, once again, things are not looking good for West Side Story. Number 2 was Encanto, making 6.4 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 81 million and a worldwide total of 176 million. So this is another movie that I thought would be least affected by the upcoming release, and I was right. It held very well, dropping 35%. It is still the biggest animated slash family film of the post-pandemic right now domestically and worldwide. It is slowly climbing the charts. I believe it has surpassed both Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway worldwide, and Space Jam: A New Legacy worldwide. And while I don't think it's going to get to the lengths of The Croods: A New Age, unfortunately, I do see it getting close and maybe even surpassing that $200 million milestone worldwide, which was similar to the cases with Cruella and even Jungle Cruise, given how well this movie's doing internationally and domestically. And speaking of domestically, its domestic total is now just 5 million away from Cruella's entire domestic total, and just like Ghostbusters, while the numbers are starting to dip with this movie, I still think this movie is going to be able to surpass Cruella. Not sure about Halloween Kills, but I've been wrong before, so let's hope it can. And yeah, this movie continues to do very well for itself, but this weekend is going to be the most interesting weekend for this movie for two reasons. One, it's got its first huge competition coming out this weekend, which we'll talk about later in the video. But the biggest reason is that the film will now be able to be watched on Disney Plus for free starting Friday, Christmas Eve, which will, without a doubt, put a dent in this movie's box office, so we'll see how those two factors affect this movie. But as far as right now is considered, yeah, this movie continues to do well, not outstandingly, but very well at the box office, and I, for one, am pretty satisfied with how well this movie is doing. So, good job. And finally, let's end the video off with the number one movie of the weekend, and that was Spider-Man: No Way Home, opening to $260 million domestically and $607 million worldwide. So, there's a lot to talk about here. First off, this is the biggest movie of the year domestically. It is topped everything in just 3 days, something that no one thought would even be possible in this day and age. In the post-pandemic, nothing would be able to do that, and this movie was able to do so is just fantastic. It is also the biggest opening of both this year and the post-pandemic, just demolishing Venom Let There Be Carnage's 90 million opening weekend back in October. Again, insane, but the craziest thing about this opening weekend is that it is now officially the second highest opening weekend of all time. It topped Avengers Infinity War's 257 million opening weekend back in 2018 by just $3 million. That is incredible. And keep in mind, this is all just domestically. Worldwide, it is already about to surpass both F9, The Fast Saga, and No Time to Die, as well as the many other films released, even some of the international films that have crossed 800 million worldwide. And given how big of an opening this is, I can safely say that this is going to be the very first movie of the post-pandemic to make $1 billion worldwide. We all knew this movie was going to be big, but we didn't know how. We heard all the reports about ticket sites crashing and the amazing amount of hype over this movie that just pretty much gave this movie free advertising and marketing. And this movie was able to surpass those even the highest expectations. That is incredible and shows how many moviegoers were excited to see this movie and went in droves to see it. This is amazing. It's spectacular. It's insert another Spider-Man related pun here. It's just glorious. This obviously makes me very happy that the box office was able to reach the heights that it was able to do. And yeah, I look forward to seeing how well this movie does. I think it's going to continue to have insanely good word of mouth, even with spoilers now releasing online, even though the movie just came out 3 days ago. It's just going to continue to do very, very well. And I'm very happy with how well it's doing and look forward to where it goes from here. So, yeah, once again, they did it. The crazy knuckleheads actually did it. Oh my god. Job well done. Bravo. Everything. Just marvelous. No pun intended. That was unintended. But once again, fantastic. Great job. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters this weekend. And this weekend we have a big holiday weekend. It's Christmas time. Many people are going to go to the movies, and there are a lot of movies coming out. And before we get to that, I just want to wish you all a very safe, happy holidays. Spend some quality time with your loved ones, your friends. Cherish this time you are with them, please. And also do it safely. Mask up if you have to. Get vaccinated, please, so we can continue to celebrate the holidays like this and help prevent the spread of COVID everywhere. Please, please. And once again, hope you all have a safe, happy holidays. This will be one of my last videos for this week, as I will be taking some time off later this weekend to spend it with my family and celebrate the holidays. The other final video of this week will be my review for Spider-Man No Way Home, so look out for that. But yeah, once again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, hope you all have a good time out there. And as for the new movies releasing this week, we've got a whopping 5 new releases hitting theaters this weekend. And first, let's just get the 2 I don't think are going to make it into the top 5 this weekend. I don't think Journal for Jordan or American Underdog are going to crack the top 5 this weekend. I'm sorry. But given the very little buzz and the very little marketing I have seen for either of these movies, I just don't think they're going to crack the top 5. So let's discuss the 3 other movies that I think will crack the top 5. The first being The King's Man. This is the long-awaited prequel to the Kingsman franchise, showing how the Kingsman organization came to be and how it was formed, and this movie has had a long way of coming to this point, as it was originally supposed to come out last year on Valentine's Day, and while there was no official report as to why it suffered from so many delays originally, I believe that it had something to do with a certain blue hedgehog that was gaining a lot of attention online that caused this movie to get pushed back and what started this numerous amounts of delays. And while it is finally coming out, and it is very relieving that it is finally coming out because now I don't have to see the trailer for this movie anymore, I do not think this movie is going to do as well as the other 2 releasing in theaters that'll crack the top 5, given the marketing and how many delays it suffered from. I feel like hype for this movie has definitely died down, as many people are probably gotten sick and tired of waiting and just lost all interest in this movie. And add on to the fact that reviews and reactions to this movie are very negative as far as what I'm hearing. They're honestly a little bit worse than the last one, which was also rather negative, and that's probably not gonna help this movie out. So yeah, I'm not expecting a whole lot for this movie, but it could prove me wrong, so let's hope it can, and maybe there are those Kingsman fans that will support this movie. But as for right now, I don't have high hopes for this movie doing well this weekend. The other release is Sing 2. This is another long-awaited sequel to the predecessor Sing, which was a massive hit when it originally released 5 years ago, and had suffered from a couple of delays, not to the extent of The Kingsman, but was originally supposed to come out last Christmas, then this summer, and now this Christmas. It's almost like a pattern of some sort. But yeah, I see this movie doing pretty satisfactory, pretty well this weekend, given that it is an Illumination film, so it has received a ton of marketing, and the buzz online and around it is pretty big. I'm hearing a lot of people excited and interested in this movie, and once again, we've seen an increase in family movies as of recently, as their opening weekends and their overall performances are vastly improving with each new release. As mentioned, Encanto is still doing pretty well, and even the openings of The Addams Family 2 and Clifford the Big Red Dog were pretty surprising when they initially released. So I think this movie's gonna do pretty well, given that it's another family animated film that will be released only in theaters, and given with all the positive things I've said, I think we're gonna see a surprisingly decent opening weekend for this movie. And the big release that I think is gonna crack the top 5 this weekend is The Matrix Resurrections. Oh look, another long-awaited sequel to a beloved franchise. All jokes aside, this is the highly anticipated fourth film in the Matrix franchise, and I think this movie might have a shot of doing the best out of the three films. The three new films that will probably crack the top 5 this weekend, given how great the marketing campaign has been, how highly anticipated this movie is. The hype and buzz with this movie is very strong, and the reviews, from what I've read, are very positive. People are generally liking this movie. There are a couple of factors as to which I think will detriment this film's box office, though. One, Spider-Man. People are still going to go see Spider-Man, so it's going to really be a tough decision choosing between that and The Matrix. So there's that. The movie's also rated R, and R-rated films from Warner Brothers have not had the best year, with films like Mortal Kombat and The Suicide Squad not bringing it at the box office. And the other thing is that it's going to be released on HBO Max the same day it's released in theaters. And we all know how this works. It's going to obviously take a hit because of that. Maybe we'll probably watch it at home on HBO Max because of that. But even with those things, I still think this movie's gonna probably do very well. I think it's probably gonna have a pretty big opening for an R-rated film, and something that probably might satisfy fans of The Matrix and people who just want this movie to do well. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you guys think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, guys, stay sharp.